Well, it's high noon in Murfreesboro, and glad to have you along with us on our Facebook Live and whatever outlet you may be getting us on this stream today. I'm Chip Walters, the radio voice of the Blue Raiders. Glad to have you with us today as we take a look back in Blue Raider history. And as we have our Brady Bunch set up here, as we have a look at it, Director of Athletics Chris Masara is right below me. We'll have Chris on in just a moment, but want to welcome some former Blue Raider greats today. We're going to have a total of 6 on here today. We've got 5 on here right now. We'll introduce those and get a quick hello. First of all, Boogie Yates, if you'd unmute yourself, Boog, and all you guys, go ahead and feel free to unmute yourself. Boogie, how you doing?
I'm blessed, man. How are you, How are you, Chip?
I'm doing good. Boogie's still the all-time leading scorer in Blue Raider basketball history. And give us a quick idea. Where are you at now? What's going on in Boog's life?
I live in Nashville, out in Nashville. Of course, being a dad with my son, I am an assistant general manager of a hotel here in Nashville. So everything is good.
That's good. Good deal. All right, next up, Raleigh Bishop is here, and he is the only one wearing a hat so far today in today's broadcast. But Raleigh, how you doing, man?
I'm a baseball player.
That's exactly right, and a very good one.
Habits die hard.
All right, tell folks where you are and what you're up to these days.
I'm in Knoxville, Tennessee right now. I'm an engineer over at Denso Manufacturing. So 3 little kids and a beautiful wife. So blessed, just like Boogie is.
Well, for a guy who started out in West Tennessee, you went to college in Middle Tennessee and then ended up in East Tennessee. So you just kind of migrated.
Yep. I love the state of Tennessee.
Patrick Simpson is on with us. And Pat, if you can unmute there. Pat is one of the all-time greats in a sport that is no longer competing these days. And, Pat, you were a great wrestler from Middle Tennessee, and I think today will be really exciting to shed some light and put some light on a sport that was very successful during a short period of time. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
I understand that you are in North Dakota today. Give us an update.
So I'm in Fargo, North Dakota. There's the premier high school wrestling tournament every year is held here, and so I brought 4 of our high school kids out here to compete and flying back tomorrow.
So you are still the wrestling coach at Father Ryan, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
I've been doing that for about 41 years.
41 years. And
yes, sir.
And we'll be talking about Blue Raider wrestling here in just a bit. Next up, Jamie Thomadis, who is still number 4 all-time leading scorer in women's basketball in the great tradition that is Lady Raider basketball. Jamie is down in New Orleans. How are you doing today, Jamie?
Well, Chip.
It's good to see you again. And tell folks where you're coaching now.
I am coaching at Mount Carmel Academy in New Orleans. Was blessed to just see my daughter graduate, and she's off to college as well. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. And last but certainly not least in this group of 5 is Nathaniel Claybrooks, and the pride of Maplewood High School in Nashville, and was a Kodak All-American linebacker in the mid-'90s for the Blue Raiders. And Nathaniel, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Chip. How are you?
I'm doing good. It's great to see you. You look like you could still go. And what are you up to these days?
Nowadays, I'm a real estate investor in Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, we need to talk then. So, but I'm glad that you could carve a little time out today.
Okay, I appreciate you having me.
Good deal. We'll be catching up here in just a bit. And as I mentioned, Director of Athletics Chris Masara is here and with us, and Jason Millard, outstanding golfer with the Blue Raiders. He will be joining us. He's actually in a pro-am today. Is he still playing in the professional ranks, and he is going to catch up with us here after the bottom of the hour at some point. But I want to bring in Chris Masara. And Chris, we did several of these last summer when everybody was stuck inside, and it was really a lot of fun. And I get everybody's kind of gotten back out and going again, so it's really nice to kind of go back to what was so much fun last summer. One of the real bright spots, I think.
Yeah, this was a good thing, and it's a great thing for us to remember our history and just looking at the screen, I mean, all the stories I've heard about these 5 individuals, 3 of which were competed before I was honored enough to be AD, but just my personal memories too of what Raleigh accomplished on the baseball diamond, I mean, was just unbelievable. And Boogie, we still talk about you at the dinner table where you single-handedly took down Western Kentucky and were the leading scorer in school history that day. And so all of you guys, what you've meant to our program and how you've built it, Patrick, you know, with the sport of wrestling and being a coach, and Jamie being a coach, and Nathaniel with your football prowess. I mean, you guys are legends and kind of the bedrock of what we've tried to accomplish and be good role models for our student athletes so that they can stand on your shoulders and what you've accomplished. So thank you very much. And I'm looking forward to hearing some stories about our great history in the next hour or so.
Before we break out into that, Chris, I think you may have something to tell these folks.
Yeah, and speaking of history, I mean, you guys have had such impact on all of us, and that we have a very stringent Hall of Fame committee that works and selects nominees to be in our next class, and so I would like to formally extend to you the official congratulations on being our newest nominees, number 164 to 169 into the Blue Raider Hall of Fame. So it's a big honor for us. You're part of the 2021-22 class. What you guys have done has been amazing. So thank you for what you've done for our school and what you've done for our athletic history. It's truly an honor for me to be on the same Zoom call as you guys. And just, I can't thank you enough for being there. So congratulations, and congratulations to Rizzo, Jason Millard, who will be on at the bottom of the hour. I think he's playing in a Pro-Am tournament and trying to get away from it to be on the Zoom. So he'll join us shortly, but congratulations to you guys. And again, I want to stress that there's only 163 people inducted thus far. So the first one will be 164. And you think about all the great athletes that have come through our great university, and for you to be part of that select crew is quite an accomplishment. So congratulations to you and your families.
Thank you.
Man, thank you guys.
I saw a lot of smiles out there, and Jamie, I thought I saw you wipe away a little tear up there.
Man,
Wow.
Yeah, that was very, very emotional. Thank you.
Wow.
I can't think of a better group to go in. And whoever's watching, do not text Jason Millard and let him know. Do not let the cat out of the bag, because we're gonna try to surprise him here in just a few moments. Here's what we're gonna do. You know, we've kind of talked to all of you and kind of gotten a general feel for things. Now we're gonna break it out, and most of you are gonna go back into the waiting room, and you can watch along, that kind of thing. And they will bring you back in when it's your turn. And the order today is going to be Boogie's going to go first. Then it's going to be Raleigh Bishop, Pat Simpson, Jamie Thomadis, Nathaniel Claybrooks, and then Jason Millard will go last today since he's joining us late. But anyway, congratulations to all of you on having this information. And so we're going to put some of you back in the waiting room, and Boogie, we're going to kind of start things off with you here, as I don't know if you know this, but we've had somebody that you know pretty well just join us on the Zoom call. And Coach Davis, how are you today? Unmute yourself there.
I'm doing great, Chip. Boogie, congratulations, man.
Oh my God. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, man.
So you're so deserving. I heard what Chris said, and it's you're right. It's an elite group. And Boogie, I've spent 16 great years there, and you're the first guy that has played for me that has got inducted, and I think there's going to be a lot more to follow. But you're a great first representative of the guys that I've coached, and I remember in 2005 going to Fayetteville and recruiting you, and how you represented Middle Tennessee, Boogie. I know you're a great father, and you love your school, and that's what I love you about it the most. And I'll say this is that if you hadn't had that little knee injury, you'd still be playing today. I think even that gray hair in your head, I still think you'd still be playing. I promise you that. So, but congratulations, Boogie. I know we're all so proud of you.
Man, I appreciate you, Coach, man. You know, I got the utmost love and respect for you, man. I've known you since I was probably around 15 years old. And you have been, I know I text you from time to time and tell you, even decisions that I make in my life to this day, I can hear Coach Davis telling me, Boogie, just do the right thing. It makes your life easier if you do the right thing. So, Coach, man, I appreciate you a ton for coming in on this Zoom call. Man. I really, truly appreciate it.
Well, I sure appreciate Chris and Tony and everybody reaching out to me. I wouldn't miss it for the world, Boogie. And I know all the Blue Raider fans. I hope I can get there for the inductions. We're not scrambling around. I hope I'm there to watch it. But just thank you, Boogie, for choosing Middle Tennessee and what you're all about. I know how much your son means to you. I follow you all the time. And so just congratulations. That is so well deserved, my friend.
And I appreciate it, Coach.
All right,
We're going to spend just a couple minutes here. And Boogie, first of all, I know when a coach and a player come together, I mean, that's kind of a marriage as well. And they sought you out as a player. What was it about the staff and coming on campus that you knew that was going to be home for you?
Oh, man, Coach Davis caught me so young, man. He came to my high school when I was a freshman to recruit a teammate of mine. And I was a freshman at the time, and he just watched us play. And after we got done playing, he just introduced himself. I'm the new coach of Middle Tennessee State, and you're going to play for me one day. So by the time my senior year came around, I started visiting, started talking to Coach Davis more. The guy that was hands-on with my recruiting was Matt Woodley. And, man, Matt was just relentless. Like, he was absolutely relentless. I knew a couple people that went to MTSU and Brian Lake. We grew up together from back home. And when I came to MTSU, I remember I told Coach Davis on a visit, I was like, I'm coming to school here. So it just felt good. It felt home when I first went to MTSU.
And when Matt gave the recommendation to you, Kermit, and you got to see him in person, what did you think about him?
Well, you know, like I said, when I went to Fayetteville, I can't even remember the other guy that I was recruiting, Boogie, but I saw this.
Right.
That's exactly right. Okay, I forgot about that. That's how long it's been. And, you know, I just saw Boogie. He was just real thin, about 6'4", but he just had a great way about him. And, you know, Matt did a great job with Boogie. And, you know, we just knew his talent level. And, you know, like a lot of young guys, I mean, Boogie just matured as a student. That was so great to see, Boogie, you know, and how much better you got. And obviously getting your degree, and that all meant the world to us. And yeah, you just knew it was a no-brainer when you watched him first, even as a ninth grader, Chip.
Yep. Now, Boogie, we talk about you played high school at Fayetteville, which is good high school. Came out of West Tennessee, a lot of good teams out of there. Yes. You got to Middle, and tell me about what was your experience when you first had to practice for Coach Davis?
A shock.
Business picked up, didn't it?
Like a shock to say the least. Like Boogie, say the least. I can remember my first ever team meeting. The first ever team meeting we had, I was like 5 minutes late. Coach Davis looked me in my face right then. He said, "You will never be late for another meeting of mine." He said, "You will never do it again." So from that point on, man, it just was a shock. But man, I don't know. I feel like no matter whatever we had to do, whether it was Coach Davis or whether it was with Jason Spray, I just felt like from the bottom of my heart, they had our best interest at heart. So no matter how much I may not want to run and lift weights or go through some of these drills that I had to do, I just felt like Coach Davis had the best interest at heart for myself as an individual and our team. But it was a shock, to say the least. It was a huge shock.
I was going to say
Go ahead,
I was
Chris.
going to say, Boogie, that's when that voice started appearing in your head, right?
Yes. Exactly.
That's where some of those gray hairs started. I promise you. The 1,775 points, and I agree with Kermit that had you not gotten hurt, that 2,000 point barrier was going to be in danger because you're one of those guys that just had a knack, to be able to get the ball in the basket. Now, Chris mentioned the day against Western Kentucky where you basically took your team on your back and also claimed the all-time leading scorer role. From a player standpoint and a game standpoint, is there anything does that stand out, or is there some other thing that we're not thinking about that might be a highlight for you?
That game, that Western game, man, that game, I think back on it, man, it was so pivotal because that week we were coming off 2 terrible losses. I think we had just the week before we had just lost to FAU and FIU at home, and then we had Western coming in, and we played Western on a Monday. I think it was a Monday, and we beat them in the Glass House in Murfreesboro. We beat them there, but then after the game, their coach just pretty much said they didn't win the game. We lost it. They're not a good team. They're just not a good team. But we had to play them again on a Saturday. And I can remember me and Coach Davis looked at each other. We had to go to, I think, Monroe. I think if I'm not mistaken, we had to go play another team. And me and Coach Davis looked at each other and said, okay, let's go take care of them first. Let's focus on Monroe. But then we both looked at each other and said, we're going to lose this game Saturday. And when I went into that game, I said, I knew I was close to the record, but that wasn't my goal. My goal was just to go to Western Kentucky and beat them. I didn't care about no record. I didn't care what I needed to do. My whole mindset was that after that, we felt disrespected at their coach just literally saying, they're not a good team. And it was a low, and their first game at MTSU was so low scoring. I think it was in the 40s that game. It was in the 40s. Like it was a defensive struggle that entire game. But that Saturday, I came out on a mission. I came out from the first tip-off and just said, we won't lose this game. And we one of the first teams to beat West Kentucky, a season sweep. I think my class was one of the first class to do that in years. So It was fun.
Well, and Kermit, that Western was a measuring stick for us. And when you started and you let them know right away, you and Boogie was part of all that, and I'll give Boogie a lot of credit. He was part of the table setters that really, during the great run that we had, he was probably the key to all of that. He and Kevin Kanaski.
Yeah. And, I'd give anything if both those guys could have stayed healthy, Chip. I mean, Kevin had the back injury and Boogie the knee injury, and they're both so competitive. They just kept playing, through everything. But that was a great day. Boogie was inside, outside. I never forget, I tell a quick story about Boogie. I don't think I've ever told him this. And you throw it to him on the post, and I was trying to teach him all these tricky post moves, Boogie, and get you to drop step and all this. And we just throw it to him and he just do his own thing. I mean, and finally I forgot who was coaching the best. I said, don't say another word to him. Just let him catch it and score it. Cause he had a knack of he could just get it in the goal quick, and he had all the great moves. But that day, you're right, but I think he had like 28, Boogie, if I remember right. I mean, it was great, TV, and you played great. And, but the whole thing about it, Chip and Chris, this was just how humble Boogie always stayed. And I'll say it again. I don't know if I've ever coached a guy that loves his school more than Boogie loves Middle Tennessee. And that's what you'll always remember, Boogie, because you're a great player, but you love where you came from and you love your school. So we'll always love you for that. I promise you that.
Yes.
Boogie, it was not a matter of if, but when you joined the Hall of Fame, and an absolute no-brainer. Congratulations. And feel free, hang around. Everybody else is going to do the same thing you've just done. And it's always fun if you can just hang out and take a listen to them. I know Kermit's got some work to do. Kerm, tell Betty, Allie, and Claire we all said hello, and we love you, but we're coming after your butt in December.
You got it. Thanks, guys, and congratulations to all the other inductees. Congrats again, Boogie. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Kurt. Thanks for being on. Appreciate
you.
it, man. Yeah.
Appreciate it, Coach Kermit Davis joining us. And next up will be Raleigh Bishop, and I think we got somebody who's going to be joining us with Raleigh, and there he is, Jim Mcguire checking in, newly minted head coach at Vol State. Congratulations, Jimbo. And Jim, I think, is down in your old stomping grounds, Raleigh. He's down at in Millington at the Team USA facility. Is that right, Jim?
That's correct. Just stepped off the field for a while and anxious to talk about Raleigh. And congratulations, Raleigh. Very happy, very proud of you, and proud for you too. It's a special time, and it's ironic that I'm in Millington and spent time yesterday with Johnny Ray and when we coached in the summertime, and we told some stories yesterday about you as well, and just anxious to celebrate this with you.
I appreciate it, Coach. I mean, couldn't have done any of this without you.
Raleigh, talk a little bit about were you surprised today? First of all,
well, when you started to allude to, we did this last summer, I kind of started to get a little bit of a hint what was going on, but no.
Well, because you were part of last summer's with Bryce.
Yep, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a little bit more difficult on this side than it was on the previous time. You played in an era that had, I mean, you talk about Bryce Brents, yourself. Give folks an idea of just how good those teams were. I mean, every game we went in knowing, or at least thinking, that we were going to win. And at the time we were playing, we really didn't know how good we were. That was just the thing. Like we really didn't know the records that we were setting or anything along those lines. It was just we were focused on each game. But looking back at it now, I mean, it was just a historical season.
It really was. And it still hurts to this day that Coach Pete is not here to be part of this, but we know he's watching. We absolutely know he's watching. But Jim, kind of go back to when you all recruited Raleigh and put that group together, and what did you see out of him?
Well, it kind of started off that his high school coaches approached me when Raleigh was already a junior. Collins Day and Lane McCarter, both his high school coaches, said, "Hey, I think we got the perfect guy for you. He's a great fit for you and Coach Pete, and he's an MTSU kind of guy." So they approached me with him right away, and then I got to follow him as his junior into his senior year, and just fell in love with him. I mean, his athleticism and his size, and could play third base, and the injuries later pushed him over to first base with us, and then back to third before it was over with. But just the makeup and the character, and trusting his high school coaches at Houston High School, I trust them as much as anybody. And I know how tough competitors those two guys were when they were playing. And when they recommended Raleigh, I knew this was going to be a good fit for us. And it was fun to watch him through those couple of years in high school as we started to recruit him. And he was a good fit. He was a good fit for Coach Pete and I. And that's what made recruiting fun, when you could find the right guy that would fit what we were doing and fit Coach Pete's personality. It was, it was one of those matches that lined up just like you wanted it to.
And for both of you guys, Coach Pete's temperament, the way he went about his business, he probably simplified the game as much as anybody I've ever been around. And that for you guys, Raleigh, I think that was a plus, because it certainly allowed, he obviously coached up talent, but allowed you guys to, bring what you already had and put that on display and just make that group better.
Absolutely. I mean, baseball is already a difficult game. And the more that you start thinking about things, the more difficult it becomes. And Coach Pete knew it. I mean, he knew how to simplify the most difficult things in baseball to the most basic things. And it just allows and frees you up to be successful.
Jim, talk about Pete's style of coaching and how it enhanced the talents of this group.
It was all, it's always based on repetition. I mean, and that's what he was about, the repetition side of it. We would just do it over and over and over and over and over again. And Raleigh knows, our defensive period, everybody would get tired of it. Sometimes we would do it so much, but that's how we developed, and that's how he developed a lot of players. He was always about development, and somebody like Raleigh, when you have a guy for, 4 or 5 years and you can watch that progression, it's fun to see, as that repetition happens and it becomes more and more of a natural thing for him that you just do it. And somebody like Raleigh was able to take to that, and battling through an injury that at one point didn't know how much he'd ever really be able to throw. I can remember watching him play catch, not much after that. And I was kind of wondering about what are we going to do, with the DH before it's over with. But, Coach Pete was never going to give up on anybody, and neither was I. We were going to keep working and trying to process it. And, it was so fun to watch, him being able to go back to third base, which was his natural position before it was over. And, we were able to move Tyler Burnett over to shortstop. And, when those guys came in as freshmen, Burnett's group, with Bryce or whatever, Raleigh taking them under their wing, I think had a lot to do with our success. I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Coach Pete or myself, but Raleigh was a big influence on those guys. And, they learned from the best when they were learning from Raleigh.
Is it safe to say, Jim, that he, with Raleigh and Bryce, may be the two best players to ever play together at middle?
I think so. I mean, that combination, hitting back to back in the lineup, and what they did and the production that they had. I mean, you talk about some big games. I mean, it was pick your poison with that lineup anyway. But when you got to those two guys, I mean, that was a lot of fun at that point. And that was my first year of, in coaching third base, because Coach Pete had the heart attack before that and kind of had given up on that. So it was a lot of fun to be directly involved in seeing it a little more up close, I guess, as we were going through it all. But those two together, they were probably the best two that I ever coached that, were in the same lineup together that put those numbers up that those two did.
Raleigh, did you I know you guys were all competitive. Did you and Bryce talk about your relationship as players, and was it competitive? How did that work out?
More of a friendship than anything. I will add or start off by saying I don't think he got so many RBIs if it wasn't for me getting hit by the pitch all the time. So I think I should be kind of in parentheses next to his name for that. But no, man, it was more of a friendship. Me and him were so like-minded. We loved hitting in the cage. There were so many times it was just me and him just hitting the baseball. And when I first started out, I mean, I didn't realize it, but I didn't say a word to him for like the first half of the year. And apparently that rubbed him the wrong way, because he doesn't ever let me lie it down, or he always reminds me of that. But no, I mean, we just pushed each other, but we were always there for each other. It was never, man, you hit 3 home runs, I got to go hit 4 home runs. It was always just super supportive of each other. And we knew what we wanted to do as a team. And it wasn't just me and him, it was everybody. Like, it was the coaches. I mean, it was every player on that team. It was a lot of guys that didn't even get a chance to play in the games. Those are the guys that push you as well. And I remember the beginning of every year, man, I was worried about my spot. So I was always in the cage, and I wanted to make sure that I was going to be in that starting lineup. But it was those guys behind me that kept on pushing me as well.
2-time All Sun Belt regular season, 2-time All Sun Belt All Tournament team. And numbers mean a lot when you go into the Hall of Fame. And at the conclusion of his playing career, Raleigh's 51 career home runs were first on the all-time list. He tops the career list in 5 categories and is in the top 6 of 11 different career categories at middle. He is first all-time in RBIs with 201, first in runs scored with 215, and second all-time for home runs with 51, just 10 behind Bryce Brentz's all-time record of 61. Brentz is also first in total bases, walks, hit by, it says that he's first in hit by pitches, not you. So there you go. Second for multiple home runs. Raleigh's also in the top 10 list in 11 different single season categories. He owns 2 of the top 10 marks for runs scored and total bases. Just any way you want to slice it up, it is a Hall of Fame career for Raleigh Bishop. And one more chance for a last word here, Raleigh. Your thoughts on today in getting this news.
And I'm just so appreciative and extremely honored to be included, with all these great athletes, all the past great athletes. Again, I couldn't have done this without, parents, first of all, coaches, teammates, athletic department, and MTSU in general. And I come back every year or two and see all the new buildings, all the advancement at MTSU, and it just makes me proud to be a part of MTSU.
Well, we will see you on October 2nd for Hall of Fame Induction Day. So everybody put that in your calendar. That'll be the day that the Blue Raider football team plays Marshall, but it will also be Hall of Fame Day. Raleigh, you feel free to hang around. Jim, thank you for spending some time coming off the field, and have fun down in Millington.
Sounds great. Thanks. Congrats again, Raleigh. Proud of you, man.
Hey, congrats to you too.
Thanks.
Coach.
Take care,
Congrats
guys.
on a big week for you, Jim.
Congrats,
Thank you.
Max.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Yeah.
All right. Coach Jim Mcguire joining us. We're going to move now to bring Patrick Simpson up, and joining us today, Gordon Connell, his coach at Middle, is on with us. And first of all, congratulations, Patrick, on being inducted into the Blue Raider Hall of Fame. At this point, you are the first and only wrestler to ever go in the Hall of Fame. So that says something for sure.
I had a great coach in Gordon Connell, and I wouldn't be in there without him.
Gordon, thank you so much for joining us. So tell us what you're up to these days.
Well, I just finished 50 years of coaching, and 6 of those years were at Middle. I started my 4th year there, and that was my favorite 6 years of coaching. Pat was the first guy I gave a phone call to come to the school, and I'm glad I did.
We're glad you did too.
I'm
sure you are. Gordon, give us a little bit of kind of a Reader's Digest version of the history of wrestling at Middle Tennessee, because it was very good, and for a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, we did pretty well after, we took over a club status in 1974. Pat was on that first team, and, we took our lumps. We were wrestling, half the teams were D1 schools, which we were, probably the weakest in the history of D1 wrestling, at least for 1 year. But, we were very fortunate that we had some good recruits, guys that really wanted to wrestle. And I was very fortunate to have a fellow by the name of Mohammed Gorbani, who was a world champion from Iran, decided he wanted to go to school at Middle Tennessee, and he showed up in our practice about 2 weeks into the season, first year.
Wow. Patrick,
Pat learned a lot from him.
Yeah. Pat, talk about what you did learn from him, and also what was it like competing when it was still a club sport at the time and having to go against some powers?
In my mind, it wasn't a club sport. We were wrestling UT Chattanooga. We were wrestling Kentucky. Those were D1 programs. So in my mind, we weren't just a club. We were wrestling. And in fact, I didn't even know we were a club. I thought we were a NCAA team. But
we were. We took over a club and then became.
Okay.
The first year we were D1.
Okay, that would be 1974, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, talk about as a group. You all were very good very quickly. Talk a little bit about that and how it all came together, and from your standpoint, what you learned when you mentioned you had the best coach around in Gordon Connell.
Yes. So when we started almost practicing in a little bitty closet, a couple sections of mats. So there weren't that many guys on the team, but Gordon's strength has always been his ability to teach technique. And he brought in Mohammed Gorbani, the world champion, and they developed the system. And if you bought into that system, then you were going to get better as a wrestler. And I was also very fortunate that Muhammad was my size, so I could practice with him some. And so it was perfect for me.
And and I've been fortunate to watch teams of all sports, practice at Middle, and we talked to Boogie about basketball practice. We'll talk to Nathaniel about some of Boots Donnelly's football practices, but wrestling practice is really interesting. I just watched the show The Last Champion, and it was a 2-hour movie about high school and college wrestling, and it's really a rigorous type of thing, and for folks who may not have been immersed in college wrestling, what is practice like? Gordon, you might want to jump in there and kind of talk about the commitment that has to be made by these young men to do what needs to be done to get better.
Yeah, it is a very challenging sport. I think it's the ultimate sport because it's one-on-one. You don't really have anybody there to help you when you're out on the mat by yourself. So it's what you've learned. It's your innate talents take over, and how tough are you mentally? And that was the first thing that drew me to Pat, was because he was the first guy I called. I saw how he wrestled in the state finals. He didn't want to lose that match. He wrestled. I mean, Pat doesn't like to lose in anything. I mean,
thank you.
But that fighting spirit, you've got to have that to succeed in wrestling. And I think all your top tier guys have that quality.
Now, Pat, what makes, when you weigh out technique, physical shape, heart, toughness, what's the right mixture there for a championship wrestler on the college level?
He's got to have everything. He better be in shape. He's got to have good technique. You got to control your diet. Some guys don't do it very well, but it's kind of a combination of everything. Then you got to have goals. You got to have a goal, and you got to go try to get it.
What made you decide that, after your college career, that being a wrestling coach was going to be what you wanted to do?
During my senior year, I got a telephone call from my high school coach, Coach Garman, that he was ready to get out of it and wanted to know if I would be interested in coming back to Ryan and taking the job. And so I went back there and took a job for about $11,000. So, but that's why I went back, and I've stayed.
Well, you coached a lot of years over off West End, and then out at the new school. And did you ever, once you became a coach, did you ever coach against Coach Connell?
Oh yes. Sometimes it was good, but more times it was bad.
So Gordon, was he a better coach or a better wrestler?
He's got a better resume than anybody in the state of Tennessee, self-included. I mean, he's been multiple Tennessee Coach of the Year, National Coach of the Year, deserving of every bit of it. I mean,
and we get to tag one more thing today, and that is becoming a member of the Blue Raider Hall of Fame. Patrick, as we close things out here in this final minute of your segment, for a sport that has not been around for 40 years on our campus, did you ever imagine that a day like today and this announcement would come for you?
Absolutely not. You never wrestle for the rewards. You just, you do it for the fun, I guess. And, this is just a bonus, I guess. And I couldn't be more proud. My college wants to recognize me. So.
Well, you have not been forgotten for sure. And we look forward to seeing you on October 2nd. Gordon, thanks for being here. Patrick, feel free to hang around with us. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah.
Patrick Simpson, the newest member of the in class of 2021 for the Blue Raider Hall of Fame. And next up is Jamie Thomadis down in the Big Easy of New Orleans, Louisiana, and coaching at Mount Carmel Academy. And her college coach, Stephanie Smith, joining us. Stephanie, are you still in Laurel? Brookhaven, Mississippi. So you all are actually you're about an hour and a half from each other, right?
That's exactly right.
Yep.
Yes.
Stephanie coached Jamie Thomadis, and Jamie, I'm not sure if Stephanie was on when we made the original announcement, but I saw you wipe away a few tears. Kind of give me, what were your emotions when Chris told you what today was all about?
It's just such a huge honor. So yeah, there are a lot of emotions there, and to be considered amongst such decorated athletes and Blue Raiders, that's definitely very heartwarming to be amongst such great company. So definitely, I get a little more emotional in my old age. So yeah.
Stephanie, I think Jamie's the second of your players, if I'm correct, is that are going in, or is it more?
Well, Chip, let me first intervene. If she's getting old, I don't know what that makes you and I.
Exactly.
But, congratulations, Jamie. I'm so excited for you. It's equally heartwarming on my end as well. Jamie was among the first recruiting class when I became a head coach at Middle Tennessee. And Patrice Holmes and Chrissy Givens are the other two players that I coached that have recently been. So I'm glad that Jamie, very much deservingly so, has been added to that.
Well, my friend Monty Hale called her the truth, and I would call Jamie nothing but the truth, because she was she still holds the record for best field goal percentage for a career, and if she played probably as a bit of an undersized post. The thing, when I think back to Jamie's career and seeing so many of her games, that if the ball got in her hands, she was going to score, and she had outstanding hands and terrific footwork.
She really did. She had so well versed in so many different skills, and did just as much on the assisting end as she did on the receiving end, because she received so much double team coverage, and so she passed it around to her teammates just as much as she received herself.
Exactly, and that's part of the great hands part. Is she was such a terrific passer, especially inside out, and with the at that point with the 3-point shot being such a big part of the game. Jamie, talk about the teammates that you played with, and what made those groups so special, and because you all were really, really good.
I mean, I think Coach Smith was such a great recruiter. Probably one of the top 3 things about her as a coach was she just had like a pipeline funnel and talent into the program. So very blessed to play with some very talented athletes. And I played with Patrice, so that, to play with another Hall of Famer, that kind of lets you know the talent that was rolling through there. And it still is, but that was rolling through there during Coach Smith's era. So I think that was number one. And then number 2 is just like everyone pretty much got along, and as a coach now, you definitely can see the value in chemistry on and off the court. And I think like for a bunch of, 18 to 21-year-old girls, because we thought we were women, but girls to be able to accept roles and to play different roles, that's tough, and so for that cohesion and that synergy to take place, I think might have also been, again, another testament to not only were there women or girls of great talent, but a lot of good character that flowed through there. So,
it's been 19 years since you last played, but you're still number 4 all time in scoring at Middle Tennessee with 1,971 points. And when you think about some of the scores that have come through here in the last 10, 15 years, that's a major statement. Stephanie, her career spanned the transition from the Ohio Valley Conference to the Sun Belt Conference. And she was a major part of that because we made that transition and you guys never blinked an eye.
Well, let me just tell you, Chip, we don't make that transition without Jamie Thomadis. We really don't. We would have taken a stumble had she and her collective, especially that freshman class that came in, and then the junior college transfer, Tanika Bure, Alabama. Without that entourage led by Jamie, we wouldn't have flawlessly made that transition. There's no question. But all it did was, and maybe also led by Jamie, was raise everyone's level and focus and expertise, being afforded the opportunity to elevate from the Ohio Valley Conference to the Sun Belt.
You know, and I don't remember her being a super loud person on the game floor or the practice floor, but there was no doubt she was one of the real leaders of this ball club.
No doubt. I'm sure she selected her moments and said whatever it was that she needed to say. Always knows what to say and when to say it. And that's a testament to her parents, who I'm sure are somewhere nearby this recording. So, hey to the two of you, and excited. I know this has been probably a long awaited, though well-deserved, and honored by it. Definitely something that I know that she will cherish a lifetime.
Jamie, what was it like making that transition from playing against OVC teams, and then all of a sudden, you know, the next year you're kind of what would be considered a level up at the time, and you went from being a first team all OVC player to a first team all Sun Belt player. 3 years in a row you were first team all conference and an all tournament selection as well. Was that specifically tough to make that transition from one conference to another, or was it just, okay, it's another game, we're going to do our prep, we're going to do our film work, and we're going to go? What was it like?
I think there was like a lot of excitement around the conference move because it was like a drastic jump when you're talking about like the RPIs of the two conferences. And so we were I think we even went into it like a little undermanned. We kind of had a low roster with health and so a little bit of turnover, but I think it was more like a challenge accepted by a lot of my teammates and the coaching staff. And I think kind of one of the reasons, I guess, that I even selected NTSU was because there was a pedigree. Even in the OVC, there was a winning legacy, a winning tradition. And I can still remember to this day, as old as I am, when Coach Smith and Coach Wormley came on my home visit, that the biggest thing that stood out to me was, here's this first year head coach. She still hadn't coached the game at that point, and she was talking about winning national championships at NTSU. And so that stuck out to me. And so I think with that same attitude, like you got a lot of competitive girls that came through there with aspirations of of winning. So it was challenge accepted. And I think that it was kind of that to whom much is given, much is required. So we knew with the jump that it made the ceiling higher. So if we could successfully make that transition, then we kind of raised the ceiling, not only for the team in that moment, but for the teams to come.
Well, obviously that was building blocks as well for an outstanding coaching career that you have enjoyed. And, the seeds, I guess, were sown with great success at Middle Tennessee. Congratulations again on look at there, Steph. And, congratulations again on what will be your induction coming up on October 2nd. And it is so well deserved, Jamie. Thank you so much, and congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, Jamie Thomadis, she is one of the newest inductees, or today is the reveal of our Hall of Fame class. Next up, we will go to Nathaniel Claybrooks, who comes in as an outstanding Blue Raider Kodak All-American as a linebacker from the early to mid-'90s. And Nate, how you doing today, man? Is it sunk in a little bit?
It's just now sinking in, Chip. It's a lot. I'm just so proud.
I still remember you, of all the play, I remember a pick six you had back in the day. And, and it was, you were just such a quiet leader on a really good team. Now, Dick Palmer, who was the voice of the Blue Raiders for your games, is here. I do want to tell you that Coach Donnelly meant to be here today. He had an appointment he could not get around, but he will be in touch with you. But I will try to channel my inner Boots Donnelly here and say something like, Nate, son, you always stayed in the buggy when the horse reared up and you never spit out the bit. So congratulations on being in the Hall of Fame. So something close to that.
Right. Yeah. Coach Donnelly was hard nosed, and I appreciate it, though.
I tell you that his coaching staff, if you were a good player in Nashville, Tennessee, in the old NIL, you were tough. Coach Donnelly's staff was going to find you. Talk a little bit about the recruiting process that landed you back in Middle Tennessee.
It was Coach Butler. He used to come to the school all the time. And then
Charlie Butler, who was the offensive coordinator at the time. Yeah.
Right. Rest in peace. He was a great coach. He was a great guy. It was just a different experience for me from when I first came from high school. He was a nice guy, spoke real soft. And when I first got to college, and then I went on the practice field, and I seen another side. I was like, oh my God, what have I gotten myself into? But he was a great coach, and they was just all hard nosed. Butler and Boonio and Coach Donnelly and everybody, they were just hard nosed coaches.
And when you arrived, on the other offensive side was another Hall of Famer, Kelly Holcomb, was the starting quarterback. And when you first got here, and who was the quarterback when you your senior year? Was that
it was Jonathan Quinn.
Jonathan Quinn. So you had some the guy on the other side. Both of those guys ended up in the NFL.
Right. Correct. Yeah, they were some great quarterbacks.
Dick Palmer is here, and Dick, kind of put in perspective those really good 1AA teams, the teams in the 80s, those teams throughout the 90s. Talk about that brand of football and just how good it was, and quite frankly still is in the FCS level.
Well, and first let me say I'm a stand-in for Coach Donnelly, but I started doing the games in his third year and up through the end of his career. And from that third year on, we had a winning season just about every year. And I think Nathaniel played 93, 94, 95. In that span, we won something like 20 ball games and lost in the OVC. We were like 17-7, and 3 of those losses were to Eastern Kentucky in very close, nail-biting games. And I know that still grates on the players and probably Nathaniel for sure.
Nathaniel, talk a little bit, because you came in under Coach Boonio, and he played the wide tackle 6. Talk a little bit about and tell folks, because now nobody plays that anymore, but it was so successful. And your position as a linebacker, the linebackers were very, very key to the success of what you guys were doing defensively.
Right, correct. Well, the wide tackle 6 it's really a defense that was designed to stop the run. I really owe everything to my defensive line, because they kept every offensive lineman off of me. They made sure I didn't get touched, as well as did their job up front. And that allowed me to be able to roam the field and drop back in my zone and attack as well.
Drop a few names of your teammates on defense.
Anthony Hicks, Anthony McCord. I had so many greats. Chris White, Reggie Upshaw. There was just so many great players that we had.
And that would be Reggie Upshaw Sr., whose son will be on one of these calls here in about 5 years to go in as a Blue Raider basketball player. But even in the days of 1AA football, you guys didn't you played several of the quote unquote big boys in college football. Talk about some of the non-conference matchups you guys had.
As far as the majors like Texas A&M, Tulsa. I remember what really attracted my attention is that they start MTSU. Good friend of mine, Joe Campbell. Remember they played Florida State, and he played his game on the.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, and it really made me be like, I really want to go to MTSU.
Joe Campbell against Florida State scored. He flipped into the end zone and came up tomahawk chopping after he scored down there. But yeah, you're right. I remember, the trip to Texas A&M. They had Leland McElroy. Right. Tulsa had Gus Farrat was the quarterback at the time. You guys, you backed down from nobody. But those battles with the local rivals in state with the Techs and the Austin Peays and the UT Martins and Tennessee States, those were backyard brawls with those guys.
That's correct. It was like a local, just everyone just wanted to go at each other. It was no backing down. And Coach Donnelly made us see blood when we seen those teams, so it was just like a brawl, backyard brawl. He
did not want to lose against Tennessee State in particular.
Oh, never did. He didn't want to lose no games, but Tennessee State and Austin Peay, between Tennessee State and Austin Peay, those are definitely no-nos,
Dick, a quick thought on the way that Nathaniel played, because his style was certainly special, because he fit that mold of an Ed Bunio linebacker that had not only he might have been a little undersized for what you might traditionally see as a middle linebacker, but boy, could he run. Yeah,
and Boots would always say, Nathaniel would knock your head off, and he did. And no wonder he was all-conference 2 years in a row, his last 2 seasons, and All-American his senior season.
Well, I think we lost Mr. Palmer's audio there, but Nate, just to kind of wrap things up, and I asked Patrick Simpson this. He's been gone from middle for over 40 years. You were a 1AA player, but certainly made a name for yourself. And what does it mean to hear those words today that you're going to be a Hall of Famer at Middle Tennessee?
It's just it's an honor. And I took pride at Middle Tennessee State every time I stepped on the field. And like I said, it's just an honor. It means so much to me and my family to hear the great news today.
Nathaniel Claybrooks, future Blue Raider Hall of Famer, thank you very much. Congratulations.
All right, thank you.
All right, Jason Millard has joined us. And first of all, Jason, where are you playing today? Okay. All right, they're connecting to audio here, so we'll get them on in just a second as soon as we see that connected up. Whit Turnbow is on, and now Jason is on. If you guys can unmute yourself. And Chris Masara is still on here. And all right, Jason, unmute yourself if you don't mind. Whit is just off of an airplane. It's a little sunburned, but that's okay. But Chris, if you would deliver some news to Jason Millard today.
Well, Jason, what you're looking at on the screen, if you can see everybody, is the 2021-2022 MTSU Hall of Fame class. And so we're excited that you're a member of this new Hall of Fame in this class. And it's really well deserved. I mean, what you accomplished in golf has been remarkable. So I personally enjoyed watching you play and following your career, and just wish you just the heartiest of congratulations on this well-deserved honor. And congratulations. There's 163 inductees prior to this year's class. So of all the athletes that we've had come through here, only 163 have had that honor. So this class will represent 164 to 169. And it's just a tremendous honor. And thank you for all your accomplishments.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's a true honor. Yeah, I just, there's a lot of people I need to thank along the way that made this achievement possible. And, my family, my parents that, drove me to all those golf tournaments in high school and supported me financially. And I got to thank, Whit Turnbow taking a chance on me and giving me a scholarship, and all the great teammates that I had that pushed me along the way. I got to thank all of them for making this achievement possible.
First ballot Hall of Famer at Middle Tennessee. He's the class of 2011. He was Golf Coaches Association All-American in 2008, Division I Ping All-American in 2011, GolfWeek.com All-American in 2011, Cleveland Golf Coaches Association of America All-American Scholar in 2011, All Sun Belt in 09, 10, and 11, and two-time participant in the NCAA National Championships, that in 07 and in 2011. And Whit Turnbow joins us. And Whit, thanks for scrambling pretty quickly, and got your old school Braves cap on there today. And talk about Jason and how well-deserved it is for him to go in his first opportunity.
Well, thank you, Chippy. What an honor for Jason and his family. He was probably the most naturally talented golfer that I've run across in my however many years we've been doing this. And what was interesting about Jason's story was, when I first started coaching alongside Coach Moore in 2001, he was probably 10 years old. And so nearly every day we'd go to practice, he was there. He was at Indian Hills every day. My players at the time called him the range rat. They'd say, there's that range rat. And that was him every day at Indian Hills, banging balls, and he'd follow the team around and he'd putt. So I feel like I've known him since he was about 10 because he was around. And then to watch him develop into a fantastic young player, and then stay home, make the choice to stay home there at Middle Tennessee and represent not only our university, but Murfreesboro itself and Riverdale High School was pretty cool. But he's just the most assuming, humble kind of guy that you'll ever run across. And he let his game do the talking, and his game did a lot of that. But it is an outstanding honor for a fantastic young man. And, there he is now somewhere across the country playing the Korn Ferry Tour. And, the millions of people that play golf, there are only about 300 full-time cards on the PGA Tour and the Korn Ferry Tour. So out of the millions of people that play, there are only 300 that actually make a living doing it. And he's got one of those in his pocket, which speaks to his career. And this is just the beginning. But what a fine example for a Blue Raider athlete that needs to be in the Hall of Fame. And from my chair, certainly here in Tennessee, congratulations, buddy, on a well-deserved honor.
Appreciate that.
Jason, was it an easy decision to stay home? Was that the dream because you grew up around the Blue Raiders? Or was it more pressure because you were a hometown guy?
I think I had a few decisions to make. I had a few offers. Both of my parents were sick and wanted to stay at home, and we also had some really good players that just came in there. Kent Bull, Rick Cochran, Chase Naramore, Craig Smith. My first year, I remember my freshman year, I think we finished 15th at the national championship. And, a huge part of my success was because of them and, pushing me along the way.
Well, playing at that high level and finishing in the top 20 nationally, did you all went into tournaments again with a bit of a swagger about you to get that. Did you all know how good you were as a group?
I think we did. And, we just pushed each other every single day in the weight room, on the golf course. We were all really close. We hung outside the golf course, and yeah, I just had a great time at MTSU while I was there.
You're playing. Where are you this week? I know you, as Whit mentioned, you playing on the Corn Ferry Tour.
Yes, we're in Springfield, Missouri this week.
Okay, good deal. Now, I would assume that. Well, I hope your schedule is clear on the weekend of October 2nd, so you can be here for your induction on that weekend. But Whit, Jason being around, like you said, from being 10 years old, was I've heard his side of the recruiting. What about your side from as far as recruiting him to getting him to stay home?
Well, I had to work Eddie and his mom quite hard there, and they were integral in that decision. And like he brings up an interesting point. Both his parents were not well at the time, and Eddie has subsequently passed away, and he was a huge influence on Jason's life, as is his mom, and he's still taking care of his mom today. The kid, for his age, has had a lot on his plate, and to be able to handle all of that with not a ton of family around, and then reach the pinnacle of his his golfing career at the same time. Again, it speaks to the character of the young man, what kind of man he is, and the responsibilities that he takes day to day to make sure his family and his mom is taken care of, and that he can also pursue that path that he's on. But I watched him shoot 63 or 4. He'll probably remember shot for shot at a junior tournament in Clarksville one afternoon when the golf course wasn't easy, the conditions weren't easy, and he just blistered the field. And I knew at that point that he needed to stay home. And so we turned the heat up on him and made him a fantastic offer. And I think as it always does, it worked out just the way it was supposed to. And he could be around his family, help take care of his family, pursue his career. And MTSU was a fantastic fit for him at that time. So we were privileged to have him around for a few years. He mentioned a lot of those guys that were on that team. Those guys are going to show up on this ballot here in the next few years as well. And we had a fantastic run there for a little while. I like to tell them that they survived their coaching more than anything. But they were all close, and they were the most competitive team I ever had. That bunch they competed at everything they did, whether it was eating, sleeping, chipping, it didn't matter what it is. They were competing against each other all the time, and that's what made them great, and one of the great teams that ever walked campus at MTSU in any sport, period. And that was one of the things that made them all great. They were so competitive. But Jason just has that humble nature, as you can hear, and he was a great part of that team. And I can't wait to see him make his speech on October the 2nd.
Oh, it'll be long. It'll be long. He'll go over time, I'm sure.
No question.
Whit, thanks a lot. And Jason,
Sure.
To one final thing, and I know you don't come to college, and none of the nominees that we've announced today come to college with being going into the Hall of Fame in mind. But now that you've had at least a couple of minutes to think about it, what is today going to mean to you?
It's just a huge honor. I never really thought that it would be possible. And obviously it hadn't sunk in yet. I have to think about it for a few days.
Well, I tell you, I think we just lost him out on the golf course. But so that is going to do it. Anybody else? I want to thank Jason, Boogie, Raleigh, Patrick, Jamie, and Nathaniel Claybrooks. Any final words from any of you guys before we wrap things up today? Don't be afraid.
I just want to say thank you. And it's an honor. And I just want to thank God and thank my family and thank the staff at MTSU, the coaches, teachers, and everyone who made this possible.
Chip, I just want to congratulate everybody once again, and just hearing your stories and watching you guys for the past hour just reaffirms what a great decision that the induction committee had to put you guys in the Hall of Fame. And I couldn't be more proud to be the athletic director, and can't wait for October the 2nd when we can do the induction and to see everybody, and thank you in person for all your tremendous accomplishments.
Congratulations, everybody. That will wrap it up today. If you are around here in the mid-state in the next few days, join us at one of the Blue Raider Blitz stops. We will be in Mount Juliet and Shelbyville tomorrow, and Franklin and Nashville on Thursday. There's more information on goblueraiders.com. But again, the not to bury the headline here, the class of 2021 in the Blue Raider Hall of Fame has been announced today, and it's Jason Millard, Boogie Yates, Raleigh Bishop, Patrick Simpson, Jamie Thomadis, and Nathaniel Claybrooks. So for Chris Masara, the Director of Athletics, this is Chip Walters. Thanks for being with us today, and always remember, be loud, be proud, and be blue.